Dude, I love the Jeff. I felt bad hearing this because I knew there was something wrong for him to leave because he was so passionate on Overwatch. I was saddened.
And what eventually broke me was it used to be like in 2016 and 2017, I felt very in control of the Overwatch team and the direction of the game as a game director, working with Ray Gresco as the production director. It felt like we were running Overwatch
Mhm.
and we were very, very successful and doing a good job. And I think the fans were happy. And then as we transitioned, you know, Overwatch League was the best intention. My parents always say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That was the Overwatch League, and it ended up being an albatross. And then Overwatch 2 was the same thing. And what it boiled down for me, like what sort of ultimately broke me in my Blizzard career, was I got called in the CFO's office and he sits me down and he says, he gives me a date, which at the time was 2020 and was going to slip to 2021, but at the time it was 2020. And he said, Overwatch has to make in 2020. And then every year after that, it needs a recurring revenue. And then he says to me, if it doesn't do dollars, we're going to lay off 1,000 people, and that's going to be on you. And that was just the biggest fuck you moment I had in my career. It felt surreal to be in that condition. And as somebody who's worked on a lot of games, made a lot of games, you get in these
Damn,
meetings where they're like,
man.
Fortnite has 1,400 people working on it. If you just hire 1,400 people and make it free to play, we'll make that money, right? And that was, I had believed I would never work anyplace but Blizzard. I loved it. It was a part of who I was. And I felt I was a part of it. And I literally thought I would retire from the place. I never thought the day would come. And that was it. I was like, it's we're done here.
Rip.
Luckily for Blizzard, that CFO is no longer there.
Hey,
Yeah, thank God that CFO is gone. But it's like what I say when people shit on like WoW also, especially like PvP and everything, I always explain Chris Kaleki, I got to talk with him, was an honor, and they tell you like we don't get enough fun to do PvP stuff because PvP didn't make enough money last expansion, so the budget's tiny. And then players get super pissed off at the PvP devs and they get shit on. But I'm telling you, man, these devs back then they were like super passionate. They could do whatever they want. But now that they were like the big corpa, they don't have a lot of power, man. And like they're forced to make a lot of money to say, hey, we made this much. You need to allow us to use that and do something else with it. Like they need to get permission. That's why they like push all these purchasable items in the shop. And I get sad when the Blizzard team or World of Warcraft team gets like super hated on it, but they just don't have a choice, you know. Yeah, they got sold off, man. The company got sold off. However, I feel like they're doing their best, man, with whatever they have. Would be nice if the big companies let the devs do what they know they're doing and not try to like control it too much. But at the end of the day, it's about, it's about this. They need to make profit. So it sucks.